Hi guys, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining today's lesson. And my name is Izal Sitole. I'm the care teacher. Thank you and welcome. Right, so in today's lesson, we are talking about the storage. Storage is the topic for today. So, what about storage? Let's find out. So, by the end of this lesson, you'll be able to describe the difference between primary and secondary storage. So, we have what we call primary storage and secondary storage. So, by the end of this lesson, you should be able to describe the difference between the two. List the best storage media for backups and archiving. Discuss online storage. Describe the role and function of various internal computing components such as the motherboard, CPU, RAM, and ROM. Okay, so you will get more detail about the purpose of storage. Please note, you will get more detail about the purpose of storage. What the difference is between primary and secondary storage, why computers need storage and what online storage is. You will be introduced to the storage devices that do the processing in a computer, such as the motherboard, random access memory, the read-only memory, and central processing unit, and what their functions are. Okay, so let's talk about storage. Right, remember I said we have primary and secondary storage. Now, what is storage used for? It is important when you are working with data. When you are working with data, you want to save the data that you are working on. You want to save that data for later so that maybe later you can come back to the data, edit or do something. Edit, share with friends, or do whatever that you want. So storage is very important when you are working with data, especially data on computers. Storage is very important. Now we have what we call primary storage and secondary storage. What primary storage, this is also called the main or internal memory of the computer. This storage is accessed directly by the CPU and is where the main instructions for the computer's operations are stored. So every time you are working on something, you are using your computer. This is where you find the primary storage. So this is where the main instructions for the computer's operations are stored. So the main instructions of the computer, this is where they are stored. So when you're working on something, you are using your computer. You are giving instructions. This is where they are saved. The CPU can access these instructions and execute them as they are needed. So everything that you do in your computer, the CPU access it, and these instructions, every instruction that you give to the computer is accessed by the CPU. And then every time the CPU accesses these instructions, and it executes them as they are needed. Okay, so when it executes these instructions, This is where primary storage now is taking place. Primary storage is most often the RAM and the ROM. Okay, now the main function of the primary storage devices, one is to hold data for a short period of time. So this one holds data for a short period of time. So you are giving instructions to the computer, you're doing something with the computer. This is where this is saved, but it is saved for a short period of time. And please note that this data is removed once the power is stopped. So if the power is stopped or the computer is shut down, then this data is removed. So this is why we call this primary storage. Okay, when you are working on something, your CPU is, remember, this storage, when you are working on something, the CPU access these main instructions that you are giving your computer. This is called the primary storage. The CPU can access these instructions and execute them as they are. So while the CPU is accessing these instructions and executing them, this is where primary storage takes place. That's how you see primary storage taking place. Okay, so we said this data is removed once the power is stopped. Okay, so when the power is stopped, this data is removed. Okay, now we have the secondary storage. Secondary storage is also called external, secondary, or auxiliary memory. This one holds data for a long time. It holds data for the long term. So data stored on secondary storage devices can only be removed by deleting. So this is where data now is saved. Secondary storage data is saved, and the only way that this data can be removed is by deleting. If your computer, if the power, if your computer is shut down, the data is still saved. Shut down your computer and then later on turn your computer on, start working on the same data. This data will be saved on your computer. This will be saved in your drives. This is the secondary storage. Secondary storage, the only way that this storage, this data can be removed, the only way data saved on secondary storage devices, the only way to be removed is by deleting it. So without deleting this data stored on secondary storage devices, without deleting this data won't go away. The only way is to delete. Unlike the primary storage, once the computer is off, then the data is gone. The secondary storage data is saved and is saved for a long time. The only way that this data can be removed is by deleting. So secondary memory is where the operating system, hardware drivers, and data created by the user is kept and stored permanently. Now, the secondary memory has, this is where the operating system, the hardware drivers, and data created by the user is kept. So by the secondary memory, Secondary memory, this is where you find your hardware drivers and data created by the user. This is where this data and hardware drivers are kept or are stored permanently. Write more about secondary storage. In the case of power failures, secondary storage will preserve the information that is saved to it. So power failures can come, the information or data that is saved to secondary storage will be still there, even if the power to the computer is lost. Right, so while the data on the primary storage devices will be lost. Okay, so with the primary storage, once the power is off, the data is lost. But secondary storage, the power is off or whatever, data will not be lost. The only way that data can be removed from the storage, the secondary storage devices, is by deleting. Right. Now, I want us to look at the most common examples of secondary storage. So the most common examples of secondary storage are: one, hard drive. So you find a hard drive. Hard drive is the first on our list. Hard drive inside a computer. So for secondary storage, the most common example of secondary storage, hard drive inside a computer. So when you save your data inside, on the hard drive that is inside the computer, data will not be removed. The only way that it can be removed is by deleting. Okay, that is the first common example of secondary storage. The second one is solid state drives. Third, USB flash drives and secure digital cards, the SD cards. Okay, so you can see this example. These are examples of secondary storage. Secondary storage. Primary storage data is not saved on their hard drives. Hard drives, SD cards, USB flash drives, etc. are used for secondary storage. This is where when data is saved, data is not removed, even if there's power failures. The only way that data can be removed from this is by deleting. Now, the most popular backup media. The most popular backup media to use are, so you have your hard drive that is inside the computer. You have your USB flash drives, etc. But now here we find the most popular backup media to use. What is backup? What do we mean by backing up? Say you have something, you have documents that you are working on in your computer. You save them in your computer. By backing up this media, you can save more copies of this, or you can save, yes, more copies of this, or duplicates on the external stuff. So that once the computer, let's say maybe the computer crashes, you can still have the data. So if you save something on a USB flash drive, the computer can be damaged, but it can be damaged. You can lose information or data that is in the computer. But then if you have a duplicate on the USB flash drive, then you are safe. That is why I said the most popular backup media. So this media is used for backing up. Okay, so backing up, you can save a duplicate of what you are working on, save it on an external or media that is not attached to the computer. Once the computer is crashed, you can still use the data in another computer. Take the data from the USB flash drive and continue with working. Okay, so on the most popular backup media list, we have first the external hard drives. Remember, we have the internal hard drive that is in the computer. So the internal hard drive is not enough when you are using a computer. Like I've said, backing up is very important in times. Backing up is very important. So the internal hard drive is there for you to save data, but it is important to back up this data. Have a backup. If anything happens to your computer, you have the same files on an external hard drive, for instance. Okay, so an external hard drives, these are quite fast and generally reliable. External hard drives are fragile. Okay, so these external hard drives, they're very fragile, please note, and they're fast and reliable. Okay, with external hard drives, this ones comes in different sizes. Yes, so when you are buying one, you should look at that, right? External SSDs. Okay, so these ones have no moving parts. SSDs are more expensive than hard drives, and the storage space is limited due to the cost. The more the space you get, the more the expensive the SD becomes. Sorry, the SSD. So the more you have space on your SSD, the more the SSD will be expensive, the more the price go up. Okay, an SSD is a solid state drive, remember, a solid state drive. Okay, so an external SSD is a device that is used for storage. Unfortunately, I do not have a picture of an SSD, but you can search for one, you will see what an SSD is. So SSDs are more expensive than hard drives. Right, so then we have a USB flash drive. So USB flash drives are cheap, relatively easy to use. Yes, they are. They are very cheap. They are affordable, I can say that, and relatively easy to use. But one thing I hate about USB drives is that they get lost easily. Okay, so there are no moving parts, so they are an excellent way to move data around. However, they can be slow and reliable. Some USB drives can be slow and unreliable. Like I have said, um, some get lost. It's very easy to lose a USB flash drive, sorry, and some are slow I had an incident before whereby I lost data that was in a USB flash drive. I do not know what happened, but it had a virus. So it started becoming slow and then I lost everything. So these ones are slow and unreliable. I don't trust them. If I have something saved on a USB flash drive, I must have an online storage backup. I also use online storage to store my stuff. About online storage, we are still coming to that. Now we are looking at these backup media examples. Online storage is also an example of a backup media. But for now, let's look at this. Remember, the first one was external hard drives, external SSDs, and then USB flash drives. Let's see what is our next example. Tapes. Tape backup is copying data from a primary storage device to a tape cartridge so the data can be recovered, if there is a hard disk crash or failure. Okay, so this tape backup is copying data. This one is used for copying data from a primary storage device to a tape cartridge so the data can be recovered if a hard drive crash or there's failure. So these tape backups can be done manually or be programmed to happen automatically with appropriate software. Okay, then the CDs and the DVDs. Okay, so these ones are occasionally used, but writing a CD or DVD is much slower and less convenient than using other media. Okay, so between a CD and a DVD, with CD, DVD, and a USB flash drive, I trust a USB flash drive than CDs and DVDs because CDs and DVDs are less convenient. While with a CD, it can be damaged, it can easily be damaged. Once the CD is damaged, then you lost your data. Just like with music, if you have music in your CDs, then your CD has scratches, obviously you can't play that music. And sometimes you find that it becomes difficult for you to even copy those files that you have on your CD. So this one's less convenient. So between them and a USB flash drive, I choose a USB flash drive because with a USB flash drive, I don't have to take care of it, protect it. CDs are easy to break, so you need to take care of them, protect them. Um, but with a USB flash drive, USB flash drive, you can just put it in your pockets and move. CDs, oh, okay, so they have a lower capacity. Yes, they also have a lower capacity than most flash drives and much lower capacity than portable hard drives. So these ones have lower capacity. The space is low, very low as compared to most flash drives and much lower capacity. Oh, sorry, than most flash drives and portable hard drives. So this one, the capacity is very low compared to other hard drives and flash drives. So CP is your last number, last option to choose from. For me, I last option. Right, so then we have what we call online storage. Like I have said, online storage is part of the backup storage devices. Even though online storage is not okay, online storage and backup services, let's look at those. Online data storage is virtually unlimited in size. So with online storage, this one is unlimited in size. There is plenty of space for you to back up your entire hard drive, including all your purchased programs, music, photos, and files. Remember, with a hard drive or your USB your USB portable hard drives, your flash drives, the more you have space on your flash drive or your portable hard drive, that means you pay more. So if you have a portable hard drive and flash drives that has much capacity, then that means you pay more. So for space, the more you have space in your flash drive or your hard drive, the more the price is going up. So if the price is up, then that's a no-no. Because with hard drives and flash drives, you have to pay. The price is very high. So online storage, between the two, I choose online storage because with online storage, there's plenty of space and you don't have to pay for that space. You don't have to buy a hard drive that has much capacity and flash drives that has um, much space. You don't have to. So with online storage, there is plenty of space. You don't have to pay for that space that you are using. But then it depends with an online storage provider. The ones I'm using are free, so there's plenty for me to back up my stuff. I can back up my hard drive, including I have movies there, I have music, photos, and other files. So online storage or backup services, um, I think are better or they are number one as compared to other backup devices. Let's see. External hard drives. With an external hard drive, I have to buy an external hard drive that has much space. So I don't have money for buying hard drives. If I don't have money for a hard drive, I can use online storage. External SSD compared to online storage. I choose online storage still. USB flash drives, online storage, tapes, CDs, and DVDs. Which one do I choose between those and an online storage or backup services? I choose online storage because online storage, remember we said there is plenty of space. Yes. And one thing I love about online storage, you can access what you have stored on your backup service using any computer. So you don't have to carry stuff around. You don't have to carry your USB or your external hard drive. You don't have to have those with you. You can access your data that is saved on the online storage or backup service using any computer, anyway. Alright, so that's what I love about online storage. What do we mean by online storage? So online storage means that you are saving to hard drives in a remote location. Here are examples of online storage providers. OneDrive Google Drive, Amazon AWS. So with this one, you are saving to hard drives in a remote location. So these hard drives are in a remote location. They are online. Okay. They have relatively inexpensive packages available for storage and archiving. Now, the difference between backing up and archiving, storage and archiving. When you store something, you store something. You're backing up something, you back up something. You have a copy of what you have in your computer. Say you save on your internal hard drive and then you use a flash drive to back up stuff. That means you are backing up in case something happens to your computer. So what we back up normally is stuff that we work on a daily. But when you are archiving is saving information or just keeping information, the information that you do not need to edit or you will not need to use anytime soon. You're just saving stuff for in future. Like myself, I have pictures and videos that I saved on Google Drive just for future. So in future, I'll be able to look at the pictures. Okay, so I have used this to archive. Okay, you must keep your username and password safe in order to protect your data because if someone knows or even guesses your credentials, it may result in loss of data. This one you know with this online storage devices, sorry, with this online storage providers, you must have a password for every storage provider that you have a password so that your data can be safe and so that you can be the only person who accesses the data. So yes, that's with the online storage. Now I have an activity. Here is an activity. So we have number 1 and 2. So this is a simple activity. Right, so the first question, true or false? True or false? So the answer must be true or false. Then if your answer is false, make sure that you give the correct answer. Okay, so every answer that includes false must come back with an answer that is correct. So if let's say maybe A is false, then you must come with the correct answer. Come with a statement. Okay, first question. Primary storage is accessed by the motherboard. Primary storage is accessed by the motherboard. Is this true or false? Let's see. Is this statement true or false? The statement is false. Remember, I said the primary storage is accessed directly by the CPU and is where the main instructions for the computer's operations are stored. So that statement is false. The correct statement is the storage is accessed directly by the CPU. Okay, so online storage is where the main instructions for the computer's operations are stored. Next one. Online storage has limited space and you must pay to get more space. Is this true? Online storage has limited space and you must pay to get more space. Is that true? Is it true, guys? Yes, it's true. Remember, I have said online storage devices or online storage providers, they provide you with space that is, um, they provide you with plenty of space. Plenty of space, but then the space is limited. The space is limited, just like Google Drive. On Google Drive, you have a space, the space is limited. Let me see if we can see um, Drive, Google Drive. Okay, so if you log on to your Google Drive on the left hand side, you see the space. So Google Drive has provided you with space, the limited space. If you need more space, then you need to pay. So they give you space that you are allowed to use. And then if you feel like you need more space, then you need to pay. Okay. Right, so this statement, online storage has limited space and you must pay to get more space. Yes, that's true. Remember, there's plenty of space, but then the space is limited. The space is limited. There's plenty, but this is limited. So if they give you 3, or let's say maybe 5 gigabytes, and then you feel like, no, I need more. If you need more, you must pay. All right. The main purpose of primary storage is to store data for a long period of time. This is false. The primary storage stores data for a short period of time, and once the power is off, then that data is lost. So this one is false. The statement number C, the main purpose of primary storage is to store data for a long period of time. That's false. False. Then answer the following. What is the main purpose of primary storage? The main purpose of primary storage. Let me wait so that you can think of it. The main purpose of primary storage. The main purpose. One, on 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What is the main purpose? The main purpose of primary storage. The main purpose. The answer. What is the answer? The primary storage stores data, but then it stores data for the short term, and the data can be deleted when the power is turned off. Okay, so the main purpose of primary storage. The main purpose. This one stores data, but it stores data for a short period of time. So while okay, so this one is for storing data. Its main purpose is to do what? So in my answer to this question would be that the primary storage is where the main instructions for the computer's operations are stored. So the main purpose for the primary storage is to store the instructions for the computer's operation. Yes, primary storage is where these main instructions for the computer's operation are stored. So this stores the computer's main instructions. So when you have your computer, you are working on something, obviously you are giving the computer instructions. So the primary storage stores these instructions for the computer's operations. Right, so the second one says, briefly describe the difference between primary storage and secondary storage. Primary storage and secondary storage, the difference between the two. What is the difference between the two? I guess the difference between the two is that primary storage stores data only for the short term, and data will be deleted when the power is turned off. So the primary storage stores data for a short term. Once the computer is off, there's no power, then the data is lost. But with the storage that is secondary, data is stored for a long term. The only way you can delete data, the only way that data can be removed from this is by deleting. Okay. Right, so with secondary storage, even if the power is off, data will be still saved. Copy of that data, even if the device has no power, will be saved. So with secondary storage, data is saved even if there's no power. Okay, the difference between backing up and archiving. Remember, I've mentioned that the difference between the two. Backing up, so backups are kept for relatively short period of time. So when you're backing up something, you are saving that thing for a short period of time in case maybe you lose it on your computer or you are still working on it. You can save for a backup. Backup is for when, let's say, the computer, you save something on the hard drive, the internal hard drive, then the computer crashes. If you have backup, that means you saved on your flash drive or your CD, um, online storage service, then that means you have backed up that thing. You have a copy of what you have on your internal hard drive. But then with archiving is long term storage of information that you will use in future. I've made an example of my pictures saved on um, Google Drive. So I have archived those files. Why? For future. Right, so guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have gained and you have enjoyed the lesson. And yes, thank you so much, guys. I will see you next time. Goodbye.